So trees are really hard to get right. However, with this video, I'm going to try and teach you everything you need to know to make amazing looking trees. Now the first thing you're going to do, this is for oak trees by the way, is sort of get the foundation right. And by foundation I mean trunk. Now the trunk is usually more wide than it is tall, so that's just something nice to think about when you're doing this. It makes it look a bit more sturdy and obviously more like a, tree. And then obviously the rest of the tree would just be going up, which it can curve a bit I guess, but it's not a necessity. And now there are the branches, and these are the things that are probably hardest to get right. You see, they need to either, for oak trees, you want the leaves to be separated, but also make up a sort of ball. It doesn't need to be completely even, but even is really nice. And the branches themselves need to have curve to them. They need to still look natural. So basically you start at one point and then you slowly go up. You start at a slant, like a slight slant, and then continuously go until it's just going straight up. Now you can do this really quick. It doesn't have to be like instantaneous, but honestly nothing can really be out of the question except for making this just a big rectangular. It needs to be like something that looks natural. It can't look out of place, and it can't really look like it's having a hard time doing what it's doing. It needs to look like you could just sit there normally and not need anything. It needs to look like a tree, basically. That's what I'm getting at. And a good little thing to think of is you can 100% use reference images. In fact, you should always use reference images no matter what you're building, because if you're building literally any kind of house or literally anything, you could be building a mountain, you could literally be building a hot tub. Using reference images always helps, because you know more of what the shape should be like, you know more of what the colors, positions, things like that. You know everything just by looking at a photo, and you can more clearly imitate it into Minecraft. It's just a good thing to have, and is honestly something I should, probably do more. And I do want you to keep in mind that even though I am saying all of these rules and all that, the interesting thing, or something that is really good to do, is to break some rules every once in a while. If you genuinely think this might help, or there's even a slight chance of it working, you should try it. Experimenting always helps. In fact, it might actually help you understand these rules even better than you used to. You might understand more of how these things work. And again, going back to the trunk and the roots, you should try to extend these as far as, well, you feel like it. You just make it look comfortable to you. But now we're probably going to be moving on to the leaves, and for this, I used a command for a world edit. I made a custom brush, and I'm going to put the command up on the screen right now, but I would not suggest making it, because after I did this, I started realizing that the leaves started disappearing. So unless you have the tick speed set to 0 or something, this is not a good idea, and I would heavily suggest against doing this. So instead, a better way of doing it is to sort of cover a certain part of the branch and then start adding leaves to it until it makes a ball. But it's best to add leaves connected to corners and not sides. Now obviously connecting it to sides isn't a bad thing, and you can do that and probably should, but at least for the outer layer, the more visible part of the thing, the stuff that you actually see, you should add it to the corners and possibly even like the tips of the corners, which works really well, because it gives it like a really fluffy look, which for leaves and for trees is actually really effective. And also, it's really nice to mix in separate types of leaves, because it makes it look a bit more grainy, because the difference, like the way the texture looks is changing consistently, which not only could give it a wavy look depending on how you place it, but could also make the leaves look tighter in some places, but it just gives it more texture overall and just makes it look way better. Oh, and apparently I have the hiccups now, so you might be hearing that a little bit throughout the rest of the episode, but I don't know. Now you can see that even though this isn't the world's greatest tree, it is still pretty nice. It has a really good balance, which is also something that helps with a sturdy look, and it has a really nice shape, really good leaves, and pretty much everything that can make it look good, so this is nice. On to the birch trees. Now, birch trees are a far taller and more, like, stand-uppy sort of thing. So, the trunk, or the base, is going to be way less thick than the oaks, and the branches are going to really just curve upwards and not go that far out. Again, if you want any reference on this, you should check out some Google images. It really helps. I probably didn't do this very well, but it looked really nice at the end, so I'm using it anyways, and I didn't really want to read to it, so... Now, because birch trees are more like sort of upwards and taller tree than the oak is, the leaves should probably, and branches, should probably mostly stay up there, and if there are ones at the bottom, they should be a little less aggressive, more, you know, minuscule leaves. Unlike what I actually did on this tree, I found a part that looked like it needed leaves, so I added some, but looking back on it now, I don't think I should have done that. But if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't have known that it wouldn't look better. So again, you should always try experimenting things. Now with birch trees, I guess, whatever it's called, the raisy uppy thing is the leaves. There it is. The canopy, I think that's what it's called. I don't even know anymore. It's more of a ovally shape, right? Like more of an ovally shape, whereas the oaks is more of a circle. And the oval is obviously more wide on the y-axis. So longer on the y-axis, a little bit thinner on the X and Z. So that's something. And this is what I was talking about. I don't think I should have added that. Maybe I'm just being weird and it looks really good, but I don't know. It's mostly preference. But we now have two amazing trees, or maybe not amazing from most people's point of view, but really good for me. One oak, one birch, both really nice. This is how you should be building trees. Everything organic should be built without any symmetry. That is the whole point of organic things. They shouldn't have any right angles. They shouldn't have any perfect lines, perfect circles. Nothing perfect in these. It should all be rough, but still has a nice sense of smoothness in it. It's like it's a mixture that you need to have. But anyways, if you learned something from this video, which, I mean, if you made it this far, I don't know how you couldn't have, because otherwise you probably would have already left. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. It means a lot. If you do want to learn more things like this, make sure to subscribe. I do, most of the time, weekly content. I definitely try. And if you do have any questions or things, tutorials you would like me to give, make sure to comment it. It's really nice getting ideas from you guys. Something that actually hasn't happened very often, but yeah, who cares? See ya, have a good day.